What if venting, something we all do to feel better, is actually making your life worse? Not just a little worse, but more angry, more anxious, more powerless. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome, once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." We think ranting helps us take back control, but maybe it's doing the opposite. Let's be honest, everyone vents. Your boss is unfair? You text your friend. Your sibling says something dumb at dinner? You call someone after. Even online, you scroll past a video and the comments section is one big therapy session. People just unloading. All day, every day. And if you don't vent, people act like you're bottling things up. Like you're broken. Like it's bad not to be angry out loud. I get it. I've done it. Still do sometimes. But here's what I started to notice. Venting gave me relief for 5 minutes. And made me feel stuck for 5 days. We grow up thinking venting is healthy, let it out. Don't bottle it up. If you don't say how you feel, it'll explode later. Therapists say it, friends say it, Instagram definitely says it. So, we vent more. But is it really helping? Let's look closer. When you vent, what are you doing? You're focusing all your energy on someone else's behavior, their flaws, their stupidity, their decisions. You're giving them center stage in your mind. Again, Marcus Aurelius wrote this in his Meditations over 1,800 years ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Venting trains you to do the opposite. It trains you to obsess over outside events. The more you vent, the more you reinforce this story. I'm helpless unless the world behaves better. But Stoicism flips that. It says, the world doesn't owe you peace. You owe it to yourself. Let's start with the first big reason to stop venting so much. Venting strengthens your anger habit. Here's what Marcus said. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Now let that hit. When you vent about someone, especially in anger, what are you doing? You're becoming more like them. They were rude, now you're rude too. They exploded, now you're exploding later just to someone else. They acted from emotion, you're reacting from emotion too. You're copying what you hate. Let me give you a simple example. A friend of mine had a coworker who constantly talked over people in meetings. It drove her nuts. Every time it happened, she'd call me right after the call and unload for 10 minutes. The problem? It never stopped. The coworker didn't change, and her rage didn't either. What did change? She started interrupting him in meetings. Not calmly, not from strength, but out of revenge. She became what she judged. Venting trained her brain. If I'm angry, I get to act out too. But Marcus Aurelius was clear. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? In other words, the reaction often causes more harm than the original event. Here's the twist. It's not just about how you treat others. It's about how you treat your own mind. Every time you vent, you're reinforcing a mental shortcut. Feel bad, blame others, say it loud, feel slightly better. It becomes automatic. And like any habit, the more you do it, the stronger it gets. So you start venting faster, more often, to more people, and it starts feeling right, even when it's not helping. Here's what Marcus would remind you. Don't return to the same ruts. Don't live like you've forgotten you were meant to be better. Boom. He's not saying you should be silent. He's saying, don't settle for shallow relief when strength is possible. Venting is easy, restraint is hard. But restraint builds something venting never can. Inner power. In the next insight, we'll talk about why venting makes you addicted to victimhood and how Marcus Aurelius gives us the mental judo move to escape it. But first, think about this. The next time you feel the urge to vent, ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be free? Venting keeps you addicted to the role of the victim. Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. Wait, what? You can choose not to feel harmed? This goes against everything we're taught today. Every tweet, every conversation, every viral video. We live in a culture that hands out identity labels based on pain. Who hurt you? Who offended you? Who didn't show up? And if someone wrongs you, you're expected to vent. Loudly. But Marcus is saying something wild. You can decline the invitation to suffer. Let me break that down. Venting keeps the injury alive. It says, look what they did to me. Again and again. It turns pain into your brand. But here's the trap. Every time you retell the story, you reinforce the belief that you're powerless. And if you say something enough times, it starts to feel true. Let me give you a real example. A guy I knew used to constantly complain about how his ex ruined his life. Every time we met, it came up. 2 years after the breakup, she cheated, she lied, she manipulated him. He'd go off for 15 minutes straight. But here's what he didn't realize. She hurt him once. He was hurting himself on loop. That's what venting does. And here's the pattern interrupt. What if healing isn't about saying more, but feeling less owned by the story? Here's another Marcus Aurelius line that hits. If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. It's the truth I'm after, not my ego. Now imagine applying that to your emotional habits. What if venting isn't helping? What if you're just building a case for your ego and calling it therapy? So let's flip the script. Instead of asking, who wronged me today? Ask, where am I giving away my power today? Because here's the Stoic truth Marcus keeps returning to. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice. Venting gives the illusion of action, without the reality of change. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. You ever have that moment where you rant about someone for hours, but your situation stays the same? Yeah, me too. This quote cuts through the noise. It's like Marcus is grabbing us by the collar saying, stop talking, start becoming. Venting feels productive. It feels like you're doing something about the problem. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not solving. You're spiraling. Let me give you an example. I used to work with someone who would vent all the time about her boss. He never listens. He micromanages. He always assumes the worst. And every time we spoke, it was the same script, word for word. So I asked her one day, what would you say to him if you weren't venting to me? She paused, then said, I don't know. That's when it hit both of us. Venting was the substitute for courage. It gave her the feeling of movement, but she hadn't actually taken a single step. Now you might be wondering, so what should I do instead? Just stay quiet? No, that's not what Marcus is saying. He's not asking you to become mute. He's asking you to speak from strength, not weakness. There's a difference between calmly expressing a boundary and emotionally dumping blame. One builds your spine, the other keeps you stuck. Marcus again, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Next time you feel the urge to vent, pause. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say making me stronger or just louder? Because most of us think we're processing emotions, but what we're really doing is rehearsing pain. And pain, when rehearsed, becomes identity. You don't have to be the main character in the story of how you were wronged. You can choose to be the person who responds instead of reacts. Wrap this part with a reminder. Venting is emotional fast food. Feels good in the moment, leaves you hollow an hour later. Choose the real nourishment. Let's be real. This stuff isn't just about sounding wise. Venting too much has a cost, and it's not abstract, it's personal. It ruins relationships, it drains trust. It trains people to feel unsafe around you, even when they care. Ever had someone unload on you again and again until you started dodging their texts? That's the trap. We think venting makes us feel close to others, but it often pushes people away. Here's the deeper damage. It locks you in the past. You're not in the fight anymore, but your nervous system still is, because you keep reliving it, out loud, on repeat. And eventually, you become the thing you were trying to get over. Marcus Aurelius saw this clearly. He said, to be angry is to revenge the faults of others on ourselves. Every time you vent, you're borrowing someone else's mess and making it part of your identity. You don't deserve that. You deserve to be free. Here are 3 truths Marcus Aurelius would want you to remember. 1. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you need to speak it. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? 2. You don't need to prove you were wronged. You need to act like someone who's free. You always own the option of having no opinion. 3. Emotional discipline isn't repression, it's power. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. So what can you do today? Try this. The next time you feel the urge to vent, pause. Just 10 seconds. Don't speak. Just notice what's actually happening in your body, and then ask, will saying this make me lighter or just louder? Most of the time, you already know the answer. Here's the final quote I want to leave you with. Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. You're not weak for staying silent. You're strong for not feeding the storm. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly free from a story you used to tell all the time? What changed? How did you change?